Well. I want to say this. Woo! The power has been with you all along. Hey, ladies and gentlemen, this is Trey Michael, and this is another segment of Applied Consciousness. There's a scientific law that also reigns in the spiritual and the physical. It says, for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction. On this segment today, we're going to break down that. The name of this topic is, if you want more, then you should give more. I just made a podcast today that I felt guided to make. And what it did was it really hit me right now, because right now I'm telling the universe that I want more. And what it did was it reminded me of an event that occurred. I want to say it was last year. Me and my wife have had $1,000 in our bank account. Our rent's $1,500. We have a couple of bills that are due. And when we go to the mailbox, you're hoping that it's a check in the mailbox, right? But instead, there was another bill that we had a few weeks to go ahead and pay on. And I remember going to that mailbox, and my wife was still sitting in the truck. And I said to the universe, I said, listen, I'm doing everything that I need to do. I'm being my better self. I'm walking in the light, but I'm lacking something in my life. And what I was lacking at that time was money. And I said, universe. I remember just looking up at the sky like, universe, tell me what to do. And I heard clear as day. If you want something, then you should give it. Now I want to put that in context. Again, I have $1,000 in my bank account, and my rent is due. And my rent's $1,500. I just walked to the mailbox to to check my mail and found out that I had a bill, and I'm trying to build my credit that was in there that I had to pay in like a couple of weeks. And the universe tells me to give. Now, the crazy part was, it wasn't that I didn't understand the universal law of giving. Give, and it shall be given unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. It wasn't that. It was the fact that at that present moment, my five senses said that's a foolish idea, that it's not the smartest thing to do. It told me my senses said to hold on to what I have, because I don't have enough anyway. So that means what was in my hand was already not enough, but I wanted to hold on to it. And at that same time, one of my relatives calls and says, hey, I don't know how I'm going to pay my rent this month. I'm a single mother. I don't have any more money, and they're going to evict me out of here. I'm already been behind a month. And I hear the universe say, Trey, give the $800 for the young lady's rent, and I will give unto you, pressed down, shaken together, and running over. Now I want you to put this in context again. All I got is $1,000, and my rent's coming up. I already owe another bill that's in this mailbox, and I'm trying to figure out how to get more. I applied that universal principle, and I want you to listen very clearly to exactly what happened. I jump in the truck with my wife, and she looks at me like, Trey, I heard you yelling out to the universe, and I also see that response on your face. You know, that response, that look on your face is like, the universe has guided me to do something that I really don't want to do. And I said, Starla, let's give your sister the money for a rent. And my wife looks at me, and she starts to laugh. And at the same time, you could tell that her eyes were watering. Now, she was doing this because her human self wanted to reject what we knew was true. It wanted to reject what we knew we had to do. Not only for the sake of us being abundant, but for the sake of knowing that we were helping someone else, that we were applying conscious principles to other people's lives and to our lives. Now, I want you to listen clearly to what happened, and this is the truth. We that same day go and get a cashier's check and hand our relative $800 to pay their bill. My relative was so ecstatic. She was so happy. She was so grateful. And she actually deserved it. She was a good person. She was a person that would give her last also when she had it. And I remember passing that cashier's check over, just asking, looking at the universe like, you sure this is the right one? Because I will only be left with 200 bucks. And this is the crazy part that happened. I heard the universe tell us after we handed the check and she was happy and excited and she paid her rent. I heard it tell me, Trey, gratitude speeds up your manifestations. Now, at that point, your mind would say, what am I to be grateful for? But it started, I went into myself and I realized that I still had a roof over my head. My children were running through the apartment and they were happy. They were ecstatic and happy and playing. They had no earthly idea that mommy and daddy were lacking in money and just gave 800 of the 1,000 that we had. And it said, be grateful. Don't focus on the fact that you're down 200. Focus on the fact of what you had. And I had a cabinet full of groceries. I had fuel in my truck. I had fuel in my wife's car. And I had $200. Now, although in the 3D world, you'll say that's not enough, but at the same time, be grateful because there were those that did not have those things. There are some families that are sleeping under bridges, and I've seen them in Dallas, Texas. And I wasn't under a bridge. And I began to become grateful for the things that I had after giving. Now, this is where it gets ironic. This is where you realize that spiritual law, that universal law, is not to be defied. 2 days after we send that money off to my sister-in-law, 2 days after, my wife receives a phone call. It's an Alabama area code, and she doesn't even know who this is because most of our relatives, we have their numbers plugged in Alabama. And I'm watching my wife on the phone, just curious, trying to figure out who it was that called. And my wife, as she's talking, she says, yes, that's me. And I don't hear what's on the other end of that phone. And my wife said, are you sure? Are you serious? And then I see my wife's face tear up with tears. And then I hear my wife saying her name, her maiden name, and I believe it was the address from her house when she was living in Alabama. And then I hear her say the address that we're living at now, and I'm like, okay, what is going on? She's giving her name, date of birth. Who is this? Is it another bill collector? And my wife begins to weep on the phone and tell the woman that you have no earthly idea how this just changed her life. Now I'm excited because it changed her life. I don't know if it's for the good or the bad, down to 200 bucks. I don't know what else is coming, universe, right? And my wife hangs the phone up and she looks at me with her voice trembling. And she says, Trey, that was my college that was calling me. They said they had a check for me for when she last ended, she still had Pell Grant and some other scholarships that she had to go to the college in Andalusia, Alabama. And they wanted to verify because they had been looking for me for a while. And they found my emergency contact and spoke to my mother and got my phone number. She said, Trey, they have a back payment check that they're mailing off today for $5,000. For $5,000. Now, I want you to go back 2 days ago. Remember what had just happened. I asked the universe to give to me. With a closed hand, I wanted to hold on to the 1,000 that we did have. I could have scoundreled up the 500. I could have hustled up the 500. Or stalled off until I got the 500 just to pay my rent. And what happened was, because I opened my hands, I received back more than what we gave. Now, I'm saying this all to say this to you now. If you're watching this now, or if you're on this live feed, that means that your frequency is on this pattern. That means it is no coincidence within the universe that you are watching this right now. And if you're watching this later, it is no coincidence that you have tapped onto this channel. There's probably a couple of billion YouTube channels out there, billions of content, and you're here now. That's because there is something that's in your life that you're lacking. There's something that you want, and you're asking the universe, God, source, to give it to you. And I'm going to give you from my experience what you should do, not later, but now. See, when you plant a seed, you don't receive the harvest the same day that you plant the seed, but the seed has been planted. The universal law states that for every action, there is an equal and opposite reaction, which means if you want to receive, one must give. So right now, if you have someone in your life, if you have a person or organization, an entity that's in your life that you know is a giving group of people, that means it's fertile soil, then my suggestion to you now is, if you're lacking time, then give some of your time away to someone else that needs it. If you're lacking kindness and joy, then make it your duty today to go give kindness and joy to someone else and watch it come back to you. If it's money that you're lacking, regardless of the fact that you know that you're lacking it, then you should give whatever you do have in finances to others and watch it come back to you. My only suggestion is to do it gratefully. Be grateful for the fact that you do have time to give. Be grateful for the fact that you do have a little bit that you can give. And be grateful in the process of doing it, because gratitude speeds up your manifestations. I'm saying this right now because I'm sure that there are going to be tons of people that's going to tune into this channel, and they're going to be saying, I've been asking the universe for the same thing. And I say, if you want to gain, then you must give. And keep this in mind. The reason that it seems like you can never get any more in your hand is because you are continuously holding on to not enough. But the second that you let it go, the universe, God, source, creator, will put back in your hand enough. And now what you have is overflowing. Now what you have surpasses your understanding. And I know that your mind and your eyes and your ears, it doesn't make rational sense of what I'm saying. If you apply that principle, if you apply that conscious principle into your existence right now, then the equal and opposite reaction will come back into your life now. Don't wait till later. Don't wait till you have more to give. You have to give it at your lowest point. Give it when you are saying that you need. It's showing you what you need to do. But you have to have the courage to believe that there's something greater than you. There's something out there that is greater than yourself, that has laws and principles that cannot be denied. Just like me and my wife did. And we do this continuously, especially when we are lacking something. If we're lacking joy and abundance in our life, then we go out and we make it our business to make a YouTube or a podcast that can uplift someone else. Now, we never tell you that at the same time that we're making this uplifting video, we're needing to be uplifted. And then the comments pour in. And we look at the comments and watch how the things that we said to people are changing their lives. And it makes us fulfilled. And the joy comes back to us over abundantly than what we gave out. And that same concept goes with your finances. If there's someone that's in your life right now that's taking their time out for you, give time back to them. If there's someone in your life that's installing something for you, that's being a blessing in your life, have you ever thought about going back at your lowest point and being a blessing in their life? And watch the universe show up and show out. I'm only telling you this from experience because I know that you are on this channel right now because there's something that you want. And I want you to know that you can have it. Although this seems impossible, like I always say, impossible only implies that I'm possible. Hey, like I always say, live, love, and laugh. And namaste, namaste, namaste. If you haven't subscribed to the channel, subscribe now. Share this video to someone else because that's also giving. Someone else might be needing to hear this right now so that they can get the abundance that they need. And not just them getting the abundance, the giving that they're giving to someone else may just shift and change that person's life as well. Each one teach one. And also, if you've never went to my podcast channel, go to a podcast. You can find it on Anchor, Apple. It's so many different ways to get there. And it's called Applied Consciousness. I'll make sure I put the link below. If you are lacking something in your life, then it's simple. You must give that same thing that you're lacking. And the equal and opposite reaction of it will be that you will gain exactly what you gave. Peace.